Hey guys, welcome to the video. It's going to be the first one in a series of videos of breaking down the heroes of Dungeon Defenders Awakened. I'm going to be going over what all the towers do, some special interactions they have. I'm going to go over the hero abilities, exactly what they do, and at the end of the video, I'm also going to be going over what's I believe is to be some interesting builds you can go for and what kind of stats you want to invest in to get those builds online and running. So yeah, the first video is going to be on the Apprentice. Let's just jump right into it. Okay guys, getting into the first tower. The first tower is the Magic Missile Tower. This guy right here. He's probably the most straightforward tower in the game. You get it right at the start when you're starting on the Apprentice. You just hit one, you put it down, and he shoots missiles at a target. It only hits one target per missile. It's pretty straightforward, very easy to use, especially early on in the game. This tower is only going to cost you 40 mana to summon it, and it's going to use up 3 defense units. So definitely give it a try, especially early on. It can be very helpful. And yeah, that's the Magic Missile Tower. Okay, so the second unit that the apprentice makes use of is the elemental barrier. You just hit 2, it pops up, you can place it. It is essentially a wall. You just put it in the lane, it blocks enemies from it, from passing it. Essentially, they're going to have to destroy it to get past. One of the special things with the elemental barrier is when a enemy with an elemental immunity hits it, the elemental barrier strips it from it, so then it can take fire damage or electric damage again once the immunity has been taken away. It is a very useful, especially if you're at the early stages, you want to only use your apprentice. It only uses 20 mana, so it's really cheap, and it only uses one defense unit, 1 DU. Really good, really easy. It will get you through that early game really well. Definitely give it a try, guys. Okay, guys, the third tower that the apprentice is going to use is the Flameburst Tower. It is actually pretty similar to the Arcane Missile Tower, but it does have a few key differences. For one, if I place it here down now, as you'll see, it is very similar. It just shoots its bullets at the place. But one very distinct difference is it does fire damage. So to enemies that have an elemental immunity to fire, it cannot do that. And another thing that you can see is it is doing an AoE damage. So these numbers over here is being hit on the first enemy, and this target dummy right next to it is also taking damage. Obviously slightly lesser because it is a little bit further away. The closer that enemy is to where the fireball actually explodes, the more damage it'll take. But it is an AoE, as you can see. All enemies in a small cluster will take damage from that Flameburst Tower. It is a very good tower to use all the way to the end game. I use it all the time when I'm farming Nightmare. It's very, very useful. It is going to cost you 80 mana to place it, and it's going to take up 5 DU. So it does start to get up there in terms of DU and mana cost, but it is definitely worth it. It is a great tower. And getting into tower number 4 for the apprentice, it is going to be the lightning tower. The lightning tower is actually very unique. It is probably the only one of its type right now. It's basically, instead of a cone in front of it where it's only attacking, it's basically a radius right around it. As you can see as I'm turning it around, everything that's green here is an area where it can hit. Obviously, because my range is so much higher, your range won't be quite this high, especially starting out in the game, but it will definitely get there eventually. So you just place it down. It does lightning damage, so much like the Flameburst Tower, if a enemy has a lightning immunity, this lightning tower will not do damage to it. One of the really cool things that I don't think a lot of people know about the lightning tower is, one, it actually chains to other enemies. So like this, even though it's only showing that it's hitting one of these guys, one of these dummies, if there was another one next to him, like right next to him, it would chain to them, and it can chain to a bunch of different enemies. I believe the max is around 20. I could be wrong on that, but it does chain to a lot of enemies. And another thing that not a lot of people know is that it actually can stun enemies. So for like your weak enemies, your kobolds, the small goblins, I believe, it can stun them as well. And yeah, it's very useful. This is another tower that I actually use a lot, especially in my promenade farming. It just kind of fits perfectly in my build. It's very good. It currently costs 120 mana, so it is starting to get pretty pricey for the apprentice. And it also uses 7 DU, so it is a pricey unit, but it is definitely worth it. I use it in all my builds. But yeah, it's really good. And now getting into Tower 5, the big daddy of the Apprentice, the Deadly Striker Tower. This is probably one of the coolest towers in my opinion. I love using it. It's so satisfying to see and use. It is the big daddy, like I said. You place it down, it hits like a truck. 234,000. Now, obviously, yours won't be hitting quite that hard. My stats are very high, so it won't be hitting quite this hard for you at the start, but you'll definitely get there. It is definitely good to use at all stages in the game once you have it unlocked. Um, One of the very unique things about this tower is it can actually shoot through walls. So if you can, even if you're placing it between a wall and you're just aiming it at a gate, it'll still shoot the enemies coming through that gate, even though there's a wall in the way. It is the only tower that can shoot through walls right now. It's definitely my go-to right now for nightmare farming. Its range is insanely high. Like let me see if I can kind of show you here. Go back to the front to the very back here. It is still reaching those dummies at the end there, no problem. The range is insane. It is an amazing tower. Right now, I believe it costs 150 mana to use it, so it is the most expensive. It uses 8 defense units, but it is definitely worth it. Definitely try to fit it in your builds where you can. It is a very strong tower. And now we're getting into some of the character abilities. I know that some of them aren't very straightforward. Some of them you can't really intuitively tell exactly what to do with them. So that's kind of why the video is here, to help you guys learn how to use it. We're going to start with the Arcane Explosion, which is very simple, very basic. It's just your right click. You hold down your right click. As soon as your apprentice staff is lifted in the air, it's ready to go. It's max charge. You just let go and bam, it does an AoE damage spell. It knocks back units as well, so it can be very useful if you want to like knock it into. So now for the actual first ability of the apprentice, it is the mana bomb. It is your F key when you're using it. When you press the F key, there will be a small charge, like as you see the circle going around there, maybe 3 4 seconds. I'm not quite sure, I didn't count, but when it goes off it does a truckload of damage. It will one shot a lot of the early enemies, maybe not say an ogre, but early on it is definitely very useful, but it does use a lot of mana, so you have to be careful. You can't just spam it all the time. But yeah, that is the Arcane Explosion. Very cool. And now for the last ability of the apprentice, the Overcharge. This is probably one of the abilities for the heroes that not a lot of people fully understand at the start. They can work it out pretty easily as they get through it, but it's not entirely obvious on how to actually use it. So to use it properly, I'm gonna have to summon a tower here to really demonstrate it properly. So I've summoned a tower. You can kind of see how fast it's going. I'm going to activate my C ability. You're going to see there's going to be like power swelling up inside me, and I'm going to hit the right click button. Right click, and look at that. It is a attack speed, essentially steroid for your towers. It lasts maybe around 5 seconds every time, and while your C button is activated, as you see, my mana drained, and now it's deactivated because I've run out of mana. So the way you want to go about it is you activate it, you right click once or twice to get your towers having that steroid, and then you deactivate it to save your mana. But it is definitely a very powerful boost. I use it all the time when I'm clearing nightmare mode. it is very helpful. It just speeds things along so much. It is a very good ability. So definitely give it a try while you're playing. Okay, guys, we've just gone over everything for the apprentice. We went over the towers, we went over his hero abilities. Hopefully, you understand everything about it. We're just going to go over a few of the builds that I'm personally going to go for with my apprentice. The first one is the one my current apprentice is, and that is the tower apprentice. You're basically focusing purely on ruin of power, ruin of range, and ruin of defense rate. It's really good, very strong build. I highly recommend you build a Tower Apprentice. Another build you can go for with an Apprentice is a Fortify Apprentice, which is essentially you're putting everything into Ruin of Fortify, and its sole purpose in the current meta is to just have as strong walls as possible. So your walls have as much health as humanly possible. It's kind of a niche one, but I definitely think if you have the time, level one up. A third one is one that I'm 100% going to be doing, and that is the Boost Apprentice. So very simple again, you're chucking everything into Ruin of Boost to get as high attack speed steroid as you possibly can for your apprentice. And last but not least is a lot more just a fun build, and that is the DPS Apprentice. Um, it's very simple again. Most of the builds are you're chucking everything you can into Ruin of Attack. Now you are going to want some vitality with a DPS apprentice because you don't want to be getting one shot by some enemies in say Nightmare or Massacre when it comes out. So you're definitely going to want some vitality and armor when you're upgrading your gear. But yeah, very simple. Ruin of Attack should be lots of fun to run around with a DPS apprentice. But yeah, that should be good. Okay guys, that is the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video at all, give me a comment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, keep an eye on me. I'm going to be doing more hero breakdown videos for the rest of the heroes very shortly, so keep an eye out for them. If you want to see me with not just in videos, I do live stream as well. There will be a link in the bottom in the description. You'll be able to click that. See, I have a schedule on my Twitch page, so you'll be able to see when I go live at all times. If you're awake for that, definitely come check me out. I'm doing a lot of like transcendent farming, XP, gold farming right now, just end game stuff. If you want to see what the end game is like, definitely give me a look see. And yeah, there'll also be a Discord link at the bottom. If you want to join my Discord, you got any questions for me, feel free to come in there, post it in, ask away. I will answer them as much as I can. So yeah, definitely check those out. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope you guys are getting better at DDA. Have a good day, guys.